All right, let's dive into one of the most, well, majestic and profound concepts in the Quran, Al-Arsh, the throne of God. It's an idea that points to this ultimate power, this incredible sovereignty, and a scale that honestly just boggles the mind. So let's get into it and try to unravel what it all means. So right off the bat, what is this mighty throne? I mean, is it a literal physical seat, or is it more of a metaphor for absolute power? The way Islamic scripture talks about it is, well, it's both really specific and deeply symbolic. And that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
You know, it's interesting. The Quran doesn't introduce the throne with some big physical description. Instead, it hits you with this powerful question about who's really in charge. It asks, who is the Lord of the seven heavens and the Lord of the mighty throne? And of course, the only possible answer is Allah. This immediately frames the throne not as some piece of furniture, but as the ultimate symbol of divine authority. And that really gets to the heart of our first big idea here. The throne is, above all else, a symbol of God's divine sovereignty.
Think of it like this. Al-Arsh is understood as the very ceiling of creation. It's the highest point, and it represents God's absolute dominion and complete, total control over every single thing that exists. And you see this connection made over and over again. The Quran consistently describes Allah as the Lord of the throne, Rabb al-Arsh. And listen, this isn't just some fancy passive title. That description directly links God to his active role as the true king and the creator. To be the Lord of the throne is to be the ultimate ruler, period. So what it all boils down to is that the throne signifies that all affairs, I mean every single thing that happens in the entire cosmos, it all starts from and is carried out by God's will alone. It's a symbol of ultimate active command. But we can take this even deeper, because the concept connects directly to the absolute central pillar of Islam, upholding God's oneness. Specifically, it ties into a concept called Tawhid al-Rububiyyah. Now, this is a core theological belief that all aspects of creation, of command, and all authority belong exclusively and entirely to Allah. No partners, no one else gets a say. Believing in the throne actually reinforces this idea in a few key ways. For starters, it affirms that the law is the one and only Lord and owner of everything. Second, it just completely negates any idea of partners sharing his power. And third, it requires us to accept God's attributes exactly as he revealed them, without twisting their meaning and, crucially, without ever comparing him to his creation. Okay, so this naturally leads to a really big question, right? The how. So the Quran says in a few different places that after creating the heavens and the earth, Allah then established himself on the throne. The specific Arabic term here is istiwa. And this raises the central challenge that scholars have wrestled with for centuries. How do you possibly understand this act of establishing without falling into the trap of, picturing God in human terms, like a king physically sitting down on a chair? And the definitive classic framework for this whole issue comes from the great early scholar, Imam Malik. When he was asked about this, he laid down this profound principle. The istiwa is known, the how is unknown, believing in it is obligatory, and asking about it is an innovation. What's so brilliant about this statement is how precise it is. It affirms the literal reality of what the Quran says. The what is known. But at the same time, it accepts that the how is completely and totally beyond our human comprehension, because God is unique. He's nothing like his creation. Now, there's another thing we need to clear up, and that's the difference between the throne and another related concept, the footstool. Right, so people sometimes mix up al-Arsh, the throne, with al-Kursi, which is often translated as the footstool or the seat. But they are absolutely distinct creations. The Arsh is the greatest of all creations. The Kursi, while it's also incomprehensibly vast, is a separate thing mentioned in the famous verse of the throne, Ayat al-Kursi. And to really try and get your head around the sheer, mind-bending scale we're talking about, there's this powerful analogy from the Islamic tradition that, well, it helps a little. Okay, first, just try to picture the seven heavens and our entire earth. Everything we know and everything we can't possibly know. According to this analogy, all of that, when you compare it to the kursi, the footstool, it's like a single tiny little ring you might wear, just tossed out into the middle of a vast empty desert. Let that sink in for a second. Now, take that entire desert, that's the kursi, which holds our whole universe, like a tiny speck of dust, and now picture it as that same small ring thrown into another, impossibly vaster desert.
That second desert is the Arsh, the throne. This scale is it's beyond our ability to even conceive. And it all brings us back to that ultimate guiding principle in the Quran that grounds every single one of these concepts. There is nothing whatever like unto him.
So I'll leave you with this final awe-inspiring thought. If the throne, which is the greatest of all created things, is so immense that it completely dwarfs our universe and defies our imagination, then what does that truly say about the infinite, unimaginable majesty of its creator?